Hello, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for listening to this. What is this? What is this thing? What is this thing that I'm doing here? So I'm going to be talking today. This is kind of the start of my blog. Video blog. There we go. There's the words that I want. And I'm excited to give this a shot, to kind of see how it goes. This is something that for me, I need to do. If you like it, sweet. If you don't like it, okay, that's fine. But this is something that I personally need to do just so that I can express, get some stuff out there. To start off, so I'm going to start off with this. I want to go mostly what I wanted to focus in on for these vlogging experience is really diving into this thing called the Wim Hof method. I've just discovered it recently. If you don't know what that is, plain and simple, and I'll dive into it a little bit further later, it's a cold immersion, cold exposure immersion. It's not a therapeutic thing. It helps with mental health. It helps with physical. Look it up. Wim Hof, WIMHOF. I'll put a link to the site down there. This is new to me. I just discovered this. I just started into it. So we'll kind of talk about, I'll dive into what it is, where it comes from, why it exists, where I learned about it, and we'll kind of go from there. But first, I want to talk about why I'm doing that, why I thought this might be a beneficial thing to me. And over the upcoming weeks, we'll just kind of keep checking back in, see how the Wim Hof, the Wim Hof method, a cold immersion therapy, has been helping. So at the same time, I do also meet with a therapist once a week, just so that everyone knows, because that's vitally important. You should talk to a professional. I did a blog post just a little while ago that, I used to just be into the outdoors. As you can see, that's Chelsea and myself. It's hard to do that backwards. In Zion National Park, like, the outdoors are a big part of our life, but sometimes you need more. You need a professional to step in and be able to help you come up with stuff. So I meet with a therapist once a week. BetterHelp, great website just to go help out with there. So first off, let's go back. Where'd this start? So about a month ago, this has been going on for a lot longer than a month ago. I have been working through anxiety and depression, for kind of an overt anxiety and depression, for about 4 years now. It's been real. Let's say it that way. It's been a fun time as I've gone through and I've experienced anxiety attacks, panic attacks, deep depression. A number of years ago, suicidal thoughts. Mental health is so fascinating. It's weird that we struggle to come up with our own mental health. Everything that we go through just constantly, our mind it's just weird to me. It's fascinating to me that mental health is a thing that we have to worry about. It's like, why would our mind attack us? It just seems so odd. And so I've been an outdoor educator and professional for 10 plus years now. And so when I started struggling with mental health issues, I thought, what the heck's wrong with me? I'm broken. I'm touting to the world that the outdoors are such a good healer. They keep you sane. They help you with mental health, all these things. And I'm struggling, and I have suicidal thoughts. I am emotionally unstable. Emotionally unstable. That sounds like I might murder someone. No, that like my mental health is not healthy, even though I'm touting how amazing the outdoors are, you know? Doing that for years, and all of a sudden I'm not healthy. That sucked. That sucked as a person figuring that out, kind of coming up with what does that look like? What does that mean? And I've been wrapping my head around that for the last 4 years. So, turns out my anxiety, depression, I think it's been around for a long time, but I've had pretty healthy coping mechanisms of the outdoors. And then as those were taken away, as I dove in further into a career, kids came along, like all these things, my escapes and my drug, to say the least, of the outdoors was taken away. And so then all of a sudden my covert depression jumped into this overt depression, anxiety. I don't know, depression, anxiety, to me, I don't know the difference between the two. We're working on that in therapy. It's fun. So anyway, what brought me to the Wim Hof method? What brought me to this cold immersion therapy to kind of go through, document, vlog about this experience was, sorry, my cooler just decided to kick on. I'm gonna go turn that off. Anyway, so what brought me to this point? So about a month ago, there was going along. I've been trying to work through. Things are feeling pretty good. We just had a new baby, so we've got a newborn. My life has changed and shifted my role in our family, where I'm the primary person at home. And yeah, fun choice. I'm excited. I really am excited to do that. I'm excited to spend a lot of my time with our 4-year-old, with now our 3-month-old, Ember and Tian, respectively. I'm excited to do that, to be able to provide that. So I'm excited to do those things. But anyway, turns out newborns are hard. We learned this from having our 4-year-old. That, I think, is where a lot of my overt anxiety and panic attacks started, was when we had our 4-year-old. And then those kind of went away as she got into 2 years old and a little bit more, and like this baseline, a platform, a plan, what's the word that I'm looking for? A schedule sort of started to exist, to where we could go do other things and I could step away for a little bit more. Well, we had another kid. Love him to death. He's awesome. However, newborns are difficult. Maybe some other people don't have as much problem with newborns as I do, but it turns out I really struggle with a newborn. And Chelsea and I both, they're difficult, they're hard, no sleep, that you don't have any time, like you're constantly with them. It sucks. But it's also really fun as they develop, like the moment when he first smiles at you and is like, I recognize you, you're like, oh my God, thank you. You do recognize me, you do appreciate me. Oh, and they're sweet and they smell good, and yeah, they're wonderful. But it sucks to have a newborn. I will not sugarcoat that in any way. If you're thinking about having kids, I will tell you exactly my feelings and thoughts towards that. Kids are awesome, but they are a lot of freaking work. Anyway, so about a month ago, try and stay focused, try and talk how we should. So about a month ago, here I am. I'm going through life, taking care of the kids. Things are pretty okay. But slowly I've been building up. These little bits and pieces have been building up. These little moments are starting to build up. And for me, anxiety really feels in the chest. I feel it about right here in my chest. And I start to notice that. I start to kind of have a few moments of kind of like, okay, just breathe. You're okay. You got this. It starts to, those build up. And then our house floods. sinks got left on. We live in a travel trailer. Our house floods, and the tanks had filled up because the sink got left on, and then it floods everywhere. So at that moment, my chest, it's like my esophagus, my lungs close. It's like they tighten up. And I was struggling at breathing. It's like breathing through a straw. Give that a try. That's what it felt like to me. I kept going, and we cleaned it up, and we got it going, and I was like, okay, I'm good. Well, then a couple days later, I'm over here. It's just me and Tian. Ember and Chelsea are gone, and I've just had Tian all day, and it's just me and him taking care of him. He's screaming. I don't know what it is. I've fed him. I've changed his diaper. I've cleaned him. Like, I've done all of the things that you can do for him. Like, I've bounced him. I've held him. I've stood up. I've sat down. I was like, okay, what do you want me to do? I don't know what you want. What do you want from me? And that builds up slow, just builds up and builds up to a point where I can feel that in my chest starting to kind of close up again. And I'm like, oh crap. So I set him down, and I put him in his little cribette, crib side thing that we have. It's wonderful for those that have kids. We've had one for both, and it's such a cool thing because you can put it anywhere. So I set him down in there. He's screaming at me still, and I just have to walk away for a little bit. And I walk to the other side of the house, and all of a sudden, like, that breathing got really shallow and quick. I really couldn't breathe, and I fall back against the wall. I don't black out or anything like that. I just fell against the wall, like, and I get back up and I force myself to take big, deep breaths, and I force these big breaths out. Recompose myself, get centered. Okay, I go back over there. Tian, I got you. And I pick him up and I hold him, and I'm able to get him calm back down, and things are good. Sweet. There it was. Panic attack. Averted. Well, kind of experienced, but not too bad. A couple days later, it's just me, Tian, and Ember this time. And this one kind of sucks. Not quite as bad as later on. But, so, Tian's screaming again. I've gone through all the methods. I've gone through everything. I'm just like, just lay down and just go to sleep, child. What are you doing? And then Ember, at the same time, is over here, like, I need attention, trying to tell me what she needs. And I'm like, I can't turn to you and give you all of that attention, because I also have to get Tian fed and taken care of and all this stuff. So then she's upset and she's screaming at me. She's a 4-year-old. She's learning how to develop emotionally and socially and all these different things, and how to pick up on cues and that sort of stuff. Luckily, she's got, a dad who's struggling to figure those things out too right now. Like, hey, it never gets better. No, I'm joking. It gets better. Apparently you can figure this stuff out. I don't feel like everybody's constantly on the verge of a panic attack, but I don't know. It seems like more people are going through this. Anyway, so Ember, she's over here and she's crying. And 4-year-olds can say some pretty rude things in the moment. You don't love me. You only care about Tian. You don't like me. Why are you so rude? So anyway, Ember, I can't. And so she goes to her room, closes the door, and is crying in there, and I can hear her, and she's saying all of these things, and it's like, oh my gosh, I don't need that. So then, again, I have to just lay Tian down, because I start to feel that anxiety and that closing up of the lungs, like water is filling them up, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. So I lay Tian down, and this time I go to get to a spot where I can sit down and try and catch my breaths beforehand and recenter, and I end up falling down. I again, I didn't black out. I fell down. I was laying on my face. I couldn't breathe. And then I just start crying. I'm just laying on the ground, just crying, just wailing. Like, yeah, it was pretty sucky to have both my kids crying, and I can't do anything but just cry as well. That sucked. All of a sudden, as I'm laying there, this little hand just rests on my shoulder. Daddy, why are you sad? Oh, Ember, I am sad, you know? And it was awesome. She stopped crying. She comforts me. That little hand on the back was awesome. Like, oh my gosh. Thank you. That's what I needed, was just you to say, hey, just that small little bit of like love. Oh my gosh. I feel 1,000 times better all of a sudden. So then I sit up, I get her, and I'm like, Ember, I am not mad at you. I am not sad about anything that you did. This is what I go through. This is what I have going on. And you being and coming and helping and just giving me a hug like this and just wanting to help me means everything to me. We have a really good conversation about, sometimes that's what people need. They just need a break. They need, we need you to listen. We need you to do these to help us out in these moments when Tian's screaming. Like, we need you to help us out. We just need these small moments. But most importantly, I need you to know that I love you with all my heart. And we go into this stuff, and she's the sweetest angel in the world. And since then, when she notices that Tian's crying, she picks up on those cues and is like, what can I do to help? And she's helpful. She's still 4-year-old, so she's still gonna have her 4-year-old self, which, can be helpful, can be adorable, can be frustrating, whatever. Anyway, so that happens. Oh, that had to be the worst one, right? Well, a couple days later, kids are off at grandparents' house. It's nighttime, and I'm going through all this, and it's not all of a sudden like I'm happy, like, oh, this happened and I'm happy. Like, no, like I'm in a pretty melodramatic sort of like mode for 2-3 weeks at this point, which I can only understand as being incredibly frustrating and scary to Chelsea, who is also working hard, who is also trying to take over that role in the family. Like, her role has shifted to the primary, like, breadwinner. Like, that's a hard role to shift into. Now all the stress comes in. If we're out of money, like, is that her fault? Like, all of these things, like, I can only imagine what my mind does going on in her mind. Well, anyway, she's particularly stressed. Something happens. I don't remember what it was. I kind of shut down. I get kind of that shallow breathing going on as this panic is starting to set in of like, well, she doesn't love me. Like, all of these things. And all of a sudden, my mind starts being a dick. It takes the smallest little little bit of things that she's just trying to get information. She's just trying to help. She's just trying, like, to get her needs met. Not attacking in any way. But my mind decides, oh no, you're a piece of shit, Keith. You're terrible. You aren't loved. You're the worst person. You're bad at being husband. You're bad at being a father. You're bad at taking care of people. You're terrible at your job. You suck at everything. And all of a sudden, bombardment within my own head. If you can think of the scene from Marvel, Avengers Age of Ultron, where you've got the representation of Jarvis as like a light ball in, I think he's gold, I don't remember, and then Ultron comes in and he's represented by kind of a red color, and all of a sudden Ultron just starts attacking him, just hitting him and breaking him down. Jarvis is like, what's happening? Oh my gosh. So that's what's going on in my mind. And so I'm processing through a lot of stuff, which means I'm quiet. I retreat back into myself. My shoulders kind of come forward. I can't breathe. I can feel in my palms where I'm doing this. I'm needing something. I don't know what that is. But then again, I also look at Tien and like that's what a baby's doing, like all the time, just slowly. So it's like maybe I'm reverting back into that. Like I'm a child. I don't know. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a professional in that world. And so that's what I do. And I can only imagine, and I know, because she said multiple times, because this has been a pattern for me, an unhealthy pattern in our relationship where she brings something forward like, hey, I need you to be able to do this stuff. I take it personally and internalize it. And then I go into this, my brain attacks myself. I shut down and I retreat from that conversation, which is then only frustrating on her end because it's like, no. I'm coming for, I need help here. Like I'm asking for help. Don't retreat from me. So that can only be frustrating. Like, because I don't like when people do that. You know, hey, I need this from you, and they run away. Like, all right. Like that sucks. So anyway, she's like, hey, finally she says it. No, don't stop talking to, I need you to answer me. And it comes in and it's pointing. And I'm on this verge, I can't really breathe, I'm on this verge of this panic attack. And I finally get out these words. Just give me a moment. Just give me a moment. Just give me a moment. Just give me a... And at that point, I can't stop. All those thoughts in my head start to come out. Start to just come out. And I'm screaming about myself. Soon I'm screaming into a pillow. Pretty dang loudly. About I'm a loser. I'm pathetic. Nobody likes me. I'm weak. I'm not smart. I'm a piece of shit. Like, all of a sudden, that's coming out. And that's probably the first time that I've really said those things out loud. Like, that the piece of shit part of my mind that wants to be a dick, the Moash part of my mind that wants to just bombard me with stuff to try and bring me down and drop me down. First time that comes out. And I probably screamed into that pillow those same things over and over and over and over and over again for 30, 45 minutes. But just like Ember, Chelsea's amazing. And instead of being like, yeah, this guy's messed up, I don't need it, recognizes, hey, something's different here. She comes over after just a little bit into that, not 40 minutes later, but like after I start screaming this and I'm yelling into the pillow and I'm writhing in the pillows like, she just lightly holds my hand through the whole thing. It's great. And I go through this until I can't breathe I can't scream anymore, but there's still emotion to come out. So then I start dry heaving and I almost vomit a bunch. And I've never had that happen. And then I'm just in full on tears at this point. Just the ugliest cry you could imagine. And I'm just going. And it sucks in the moment. And I'm dry heaving and I'm vomiting and I'm almost vomiting, like all of these things. And my muscles are just tired from just being clenched up, just holding on to the pillow as hard as I could. Like I'm exhausted. Finally, after 45 minutes, I stop and I can't do any more. I've gotten it all out and I just feel gross. And then my body just feels kind of gross afterwards. Like I've gotten all the emotion out of the way and now my body just, like I just felt icky. I don't know, that's probably a good way to describe it. I just felt kind of like bleh. Like there was goo in like all the capillaries and the veins and just throughout my whole body. My muscles were just like goopy. I felt gross. That's as far as panic attacks or anxiety attacks or just emotional breakdowns, that's probably the worst one that I've ever had. I don't recommend them. They're not fun. They're not a good time. That sucked. So, Chelsea and I ended up having a wonderful conversation. I mean, we talked for 4, 5, 6 hours after this. What's going on? What was that? And so for the first time in probably 10 years, our entire relationship, I'm able to tell her like, hey, when I retreat back, that's what's going on in my mind. That's why I've retreated back. Because there's a lot of things that I'm trying to work through and past and around based off of some small little tiny thing that you didn't mean it. And it doesn't just happen with Chelsea. It happens at work. It happens with friends. It happens. I run a lot of disc golf tournaments. It happens there for that one person who says something. It's like all of a sudden that one little thing, and they probably didn't even mean it in a negative way, like in an attacking sort of way. They just meant it as like some general feedback. All of a sudden, my brain is like, that's what's going on. And I take the little tiny detail and it just amplifies and builds up. Anyway, so we have this big conversation. This is probably the first time that she's been known that, and that's not any fault on her, that's on me. That's, yeah, like not being able to express that out there, not being able to say like, whoa. What did you mean by this? Or like stopping that and like, hey, turns out I'm a dick to myself. We all are. We're all terrible to ourselves so much. So then in this moment, in this conversation, we come up with kind of a plan. We come up with, well, what are we going to do about this? Because it's unhealthy. All around unhealthy. It's unhealthy for me. It's unhealthy for her. It's unhealthy for the kids. For me to be on the edge of anxiety attacks all the time, you know? What are we going to do about it? So first off, we know that a few years ago when similar stuff was happening, and I was having a few anxiety attacks then, not to this level, we were able to get into some counseling. I was able to meet with a counselor a couple of times, and that was tremendously helpful, just to talk to them and them be kind of just a sounding board, you know, as a professional in the field, and them being able to talk to me about it. And so we set up for therapy. Well, where the heck's a therapy? We'll set up for therapy. Where's a therapist? I don't know. We ended up in BetterHelp. It's a website. It's wonderful. It's relatively inexpensive to therapy. Incredibly helpful. They can match you with a really good therapist. The one that lady that I'm working with, Carol, she's into acceptance and commitment therapy, ACT. It's so far has been pretty awesome. It's stuff that I really like, and it ties in really well with the outdoors. An area of my life that I know I love, but anxiety and depression has pushed it out of my life as like get away from me. So we've kind of dive into a lot of that stuff of like, you can feel the way that you feel, accept it, recognize your problem, those strong emotions for what they are. They're information. Your mind is giving you, you're upset, you're sad, these strong emotions happen for a reason. It's your mind is giving you information of things that are important to you. What's important to you? Recognize it. Allow it to be. Investigate why it's important. Why are you feeling this strong feeling? Why are you going through all this? And then non-personalize it, which is where I really struggle with this, is just being like, yeah, no, it's not personal. Like, I'm not I'm not angry. I'm not sad. I have this feeling of sadness. I notice the feeling of sadness. Like, so it's been wonderful. Seek professional help. Not even if you're at the point of anxiety attacks. You should just talk to a therapist if you have the ability to. If not, like, I'm lucky I've got a really good support system in Chelsea and Ember and my parents and her parents, and like, it's great. So anyway, so that's one part of the plan. The other one, I just was like, I feel gross, and I feel like it's the Mountain Dew. Anybody that knows me, I drink an ungodly amount of Mountain Dew, and I always have. Since that day about 3 weeks ago, I stopped drinking Mountain Dew because it's not worth it. It's just feeling... I for whatever reason, that's what popped into my mind when that feeling of just grossness came, was like, it's the volumes of Mountain Dew just coursing through your body, the sugars and the caffeines and the chemicals and all this stuff, and I was like, oh, so sorry, Mountain Dew, I love you, and it tastes wonderful, and I'll miss you, but I can't, like, soda, so I cut soda. Water sucks. I hate drinking water, but I don't want to just switch to some other sugary substance, so I'm going to just drink water because, you know, it is actually good for you, and it's what we should be drinking, and I just wish water was, I wish I enjoyed drinking water. That's what I'll say about water. So I cut soda out of my life. But the other odd thing that happened when this was all done and I was sitting there thinking was, like, to get this gross out of my body, all I could think about was, where is the nearest mountain lake? I'm gonna go jump into that thing buck naked and I just need to be in cold freaking water. That's all I wanted. That's all I wanted. Drew back to this point where a number of years ago, Banff Mountain Film Festival, there was a film that was about an old lady that she would hike up to alpine lakes and just go swimming in these alpine lakes. Like, that's what she did. And she talked about how freeing it was and how wonderful it was. Like, I think that popped back up, because we take stuff in, but it's a non-deleting memory bank in there. Those things are cataloged somewhere. Those things are cataloged in your mind, and they always will be. And yeah, so for whatever reason, that's what my body and my mind and everything was saying. Like, you need to go jump into a cold lake and wash this goo off. Well, sadly, it was nighttime. We live in the desert. It hadn't rained. Luckily, it's raining right now, but it hadn't rained at that point for probably 15 months. We're going through a pretty bad drought over here. And that sucked. So I couldn't really do that at that point. Luckily, we were going to be going to Cedar City and seeing a friend who I knew she had an ice bath. She was into this ice bath stuff. I didn't know much about it, but I knew that's what she did. Her and her husband and other friends right around there, they would go into this ice bath. They had it at their backyard, and so I was like, well, shoot, we're gonna be going over there, so Ember can play with her friend. So I was like, tell me about your ice bath. I want to get into this ice bath. I want to see what this is. What is this? So we ended up chatting a little bit. I go into the ice bath. Now, this was my first experience ever going into something like this. For the express purpose of just going into it, I've been in really, 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 really cold water before, usually wearing neoprene. So anyway, we go into this, and I get in there, and she's got a chest freezer outside and opens it up and breaks the ice down, and I'm like, oh my gosh, all right, let's do this thing. And I get in there, and it's very difficult, to say the least. It was very hard not to be like, nope, never mind, I don't like this. But I go in, I get in up to my neck in this freezing water. It's right there at about 32 degrees, and I'm just like, trying to focus on my breathing. But it's hard because your body's like, no, panicking, like, stop it. And you're trying to just overcome that. You can do this. And I am able to calm down a little bit. I'm only in there for 30, 40 seconds. I'm not in there for very long. Because that's kind of the point of it, is you don't want to force yourself to be in there longer than what your body is saying. If your body is like, get out, like, you're shivering, you've been in there too long. So I hop out and get kind of dried off, but I'll never forget this sort of feeling afterwards of, like, everywhere across my skin just felt new. I don't know, it's hard to describe, but I won't forget that feeling of, like, everything just felt like I had this new layer of skin that was very airy and light. And it was awesome. And I was like, I like this feeling. I like how this feels. It makes my skin feels good. I feel good. I want to figure this out. So we talk a little bit, and I'm like, well, but what do I research? Cold baths. Like, what do I look up? And there's a couple different places that you can look, but the one to really look into is not the one to really look into, but one that has research backing it, actual data and research behind it, is the Wim Hof method, WIMH space HOF. The Iceman, they've done a bunch of different studies on him and this idea of cold immersion therapy. and his breathing exercises and how it actually is beneficial and does work with him and does make all of these people feel better, both physically, mentally, all of these things. So a couple days later, I go into a deep dive. Actually, it was last night. So I dive in. I start searching. I'm diving deep into videos. I start into his like basic course, his little free course that he gives to say like, here's the basics of it. Here's the breathing exercises. Here's the cold shower approach, and then the brain power bit, which is then the third. It's pretty awesome. So he's got 3 different elements to the Wim Hof method to become superhuman, to become the Iceman, whatever it may be, to channel and help fix your chemistry, your life. So first and foremost, is the breathing exercises. So he goes through a breathing exercise routine. And so that's what you do. It's this deep breathing exercise that, you go through each morning is when he recommends it. And I'll link, you can go look at it. I'm brand new to it. Literally just learned it last night, so I'm not gonna pretend like I know stuff. I'm just gonna link you to their stuff, and you can go find some more. So anyway, then the next part is then cold shower. So a cold shower each day. And he's got a way to do it that makes sense, that makes it not just a miserable experience. Because I hate cold water. I hate being splashed by cold water probably more than anything. So a cold shower is actually pretty much always been a no-go for me. The moment the hot water runs out in the shower, I'm out. Show up to a place to take a shower and it's only cold water, I'm just gonna be stinky. So that was fun to start doing that. So and then the last bit is commitment, brain power. So it's focusing, using the power of the mind to overcome and kind of use those 2 things to build you to then where ice baths become a thing, and exercise becomes things that your mind is stronger than you think it is. You are stronger than you think you are. So that's kind of the journey. That's kind of the path. That's the basis of what the Wim Hof theory is. I started it this morning. I had my first breathing exercise. Went through that. It was pretty fun. Fun's a weird word. I don't want to say fun. It was very interesting though. He talks about you'll go through this breathing exercise and you'll feel weird stuff. You'll feel tingling in your legs and in your arms, and you might almost pass out sometimes. All these weird things. I'm like, this guy's weird. I felt all these weird, I could feel it in my face, as though there was just it was super cool to do a breathing exercise. I felt pretty good after it. As far as how long could I hold my breath during part of it, not very long. Turns out I can't hold my breath very long. But theoretically that'll continue to improve. I took my cold shower, which was invigorating to say the least. I journaled, I wrote down a whole bunch of stuff about what I experienced. Wim Hof talks about the cold being a teacher. And particularly what we're doing with what that cold is doing is helping to reduce inflammation. It's helping to open up your cardiovascular system to get everywhere. It's pretty fascinating. Anyway, I was like, my legs are fine. I don't know. They don't even really feel it. But then I started thinking, I started kind of using the ACT, the acceptance commitment therapy process of recognizing, allowing, investigating, and non-personalizing. I'm like, oh yeah, if I investigate, like, well, why do my legs not really feel the cold in there? Do I have nerve damage? Like, what's happening here? But like, they've never really felt that, and mostly it's because I think my legs are the only part of my body that are like, I work out regularly, because I'm always using them, hiking, climbing, canyoneering, walking. Like, I regularly am using my legs, and I've always felt like they were always in pretty dang good shape. And so I think that they've been functioning pretty dang well. And so they already had blood flow throughout them. Like, cold water, we don't care. Going canyoneering, it didn't bother me to be in cold water without a wetsuit on my legs, even though that's what was in the water most of the time, was your legs were going to get in. But it was in my torso and my arms that I hated getting cold. And so that's where it was hard. The front of my body, the front of my torso wasn't really bad. I really liked his method of kind of showing it, like, put your arms in the cold water first. Because it always, when you're getting into a cold pool and you're doing this, you're like, I don't want to put my arms in, and then finally you like put them in, and you're like, oh, well, now I'm fine. Once I got my arms and my shoulders in, I'm actually perfectly fine. So I got those used to it, and you're able to rub those pretty easily and keep those like, oh yeah, because it was a cold shower. Front of my body was fine. It was, it'd get cold. It was weird when I put my head in there as well, because I thought that would be a really hard thing for me, but it was fine. Maybe it's this longer hair and the beard. I don't know. It didn't seem to really be an issue. So then, the thing that I noticed the most was my back. My back really struggled with having cold water on it, and I think it's because these weeks of anxiety and stress, I've stressed these muscles pretty bad, to where they've actually been hurting me for a little bit, and I've had to really focus on some stretches to try and stretch them out as I go through. Like, even right now, I'm like, oh yeah, I need to stretch those things out. And so I think, like, the cold is teaching me, hey, here's where you're carrying that stress, bud. Yeah. Okay, you are stressed out. There is pain right there. Here's a little tidbit for you. Just want you to know. Like, so now my mind's being helpful. Like, see, I'm not a dick all the time. I know. You're a good mind. And so now I'm like, oh yeah, like, that makes sense. Like, nothing, like, that's where the cold is really impacting me and biting into me, is where I'm injured, where I'm feeling the most vulnerable, is where it's attacking it. So let's work that out. Let's pay attention. Let's massage it out. Do all these things, and maybe that will start to go away. And then we can find some other spot. Oh, my belly aches. Because I don't drink any water because it tastes gross. Slowly work these things out and kind of overcome what's going on. So, that was really long. That was an hour. You might not want to watch this. I don't know. I'll try and figure out some stuff about breaking it apart. I'm new to the vlogging world, to the, really to YouTube, breaking things up. I don't know how to do a lot of this sort of stuff. We're going to try our best. We're going to see what we can do to keep these things going. They probably won't be as long. This one just has a lot more content to go into, just as far as why, like, I'm doing this. What caused me to get to this point of a 45-minute scream fest into a pillow, and then what I'm doing about it, and I think that, blogging and vlogging, these are two things that I used to do all the time and were a pretty good outlet for me. So that's why we're going to be doing this. So thanks for listening. Thanks for coming by. Please you know, all those things that exist in there that you hear from everybody. There's a reason they do those things. All YouTubers are like, please like, please subscribe, do all these things, because algorithms exist. Y'all get frustrated at Facebook because it doesn't show you some things. Well, you gotta go like those things and like interact with them online instead of just viewing them. You gotta actually interact with them, comment on something, you know, whatever it is. Down below, let me know, what is it that, you know, would you jump into an ice bath? Yeah, I want to know that. Would you jump into an ice bath? And if so, sweet. If not, why not? Now let's hear why, you know. Thanks everyone. I appreciate it. We'll catch you on the next adventure. Bye.